I'm Dr. Jason Fung, author of The Cancer Code. The Cancer Code is really an exploration of what cancer is. It's a very mysterious disease because cancer actually develops from our own intrinsic healthy cells, and for some reason they turn into these cancerous cells. But why is that? Why does that happen? And this is what the Cancer Code really explores: how we understand this disease and the futures of treatment. In the beginning, we thought that cancer was simply a disease where cells grew too much, and that led to treatments to kill cells, such as chemotherapy, which is a poison, or radiation, which is trying to burn these cancer cells, or surgery, which is to cut these cells out. And those led to very useful treatments, but didn't really further our understanding of why these cells were growing too much. So the next big revolution was the sort of genetic revolution, and we started to understand that there are genes that control our growth, and therefore mutations of these genes might actually explain why these cells are growing. And this led to the discovery of things such as oncogenes and tumor suppression genes, and led to another explosion in treatments targeted towards the genetic nature of this disease. So we would, instead of trying to kill cells, try to correct the underlying genetic problem. And some of the first treatments, such as imatinib or some of the antibodies, were extremely successful at doing so. But once again, we reached the limits of explaining why these genes were mutated. And that sort of led us to the most current sort of thinking about it, which is cancer as an evolutionary disease, as a reaction to the environment in which we find ourselves. And in fact, the story of cancer goes back far, far beyond humanity and is actually deeply embedded in the way life on Earth actually evolved. So as we went from single-celled organisms to multi-celled organisms, our genetics had to adapt so that cells were no longer competing with each other but had to cooperate. And it was the nature of this change that led to certain cells having the ability to sort of think for themselves or act in an autonomous way. So therefore, that seed of cancer actually exists in all of our cells because of the way that we evolved through history. But not just us, but all animals and all multicellular life on Earth. So therefore, you see that many, many species get cancer. Dogs get cancer, cats get cancer, birds get cancer. Even the most primitive organisms can still get cancer, and that's because that seed exists in all of us. But that doesn't mean that we're all going to get cancer, because cancer develops both as an interaction between that seed and the soil in which it finds itself. So there are certain things that are going to promote the growth of cancer, that are going to allow this sort of seed of cancer to flourish. And some of those things would include certain viruses, for example, can lead to cancer. Certain carcinogens, such as chemicals, tobacco smoke, for example, can lead to chemicals. But also, one of the less understood phenomenon is our diet plays a large role in cancer. So we see that in very traditional societies, such as the natives in America or the natives in Africa, they would actually very rarely get cancer compared to the sort of more Western settlements where cancer was becoming rampant. And the only difference was the diets that they were eating. So certain diets actually tended to promote the development of cancer, and these were largely a result of refined foods and also the excess of insulin, which is like a growth hormone. So a lot of cancers, in fact, depend on insulin to grow, and if you have a lot of insulin, it's going to allow the cancers to grow quickly, and it's really providing fertilizer for these cancers to grow. And therefore, that's very important knowledge, because if we can then change that soil in which it grows, we can perhaps influence the risk of cancer that we all have. We see this, for example, in the designation of a number of cancers as obesity-associated cancers. So in the development of obesity and the development of type 2 diabetes, you have a situation where there is high levels of insulin, and those high levels of insulin may be, in fact, very important to these obesity-associated cancers, which the World Health Organization has designated 13 different cancers, including some of the most important cancers that we treat, such as colorectal cancer and breast cancer. The number one cancer, of course, lung cancer, is mostly associated with cigarette smoking. And those are some of the things that we go through in the Cancer Code. It's a very sort of interesting take on the nature of this very mysterious disease, what we know about it, what is to come, and the new treatments based on the new paradigms of understanding. Thank you so much.